Tonight about the attack on U.S. troops in Iraq. 5 American service members and 2 contractors are wounded. A U.S. official confirms at least 2 rockets were fired at the air base. The attack comes as the Mideast remains on high alert for a possible strike on Israel from Iran. In response, the U.S. Navy sending in a squadron of F-18 fighters to the region. ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge reports from Tel Aviv.
Tonight, new details on that targeted rocket attack on U.S. service members in Iraq. 5 U.S. troops and 2 contractors injured when at least 2 rockets, likely fired by an Iranian-backed militia, hit the Al-Assad airbase, say U.S. officials.
Make no mistake, the United States will not tolerate attacks on our personnel in the region.
With the Middle East on edge, President Biden carefully weighing a response. But today, Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, vowing to avenge the death of a top commander killed by an Israeli airstrike in Beirut last week. Moments before Nasrallah spoke, IDF fighter jets above Beirut. Our Marcus Moore on the scene.
There was a quick reaction. People here were stunned, frightened, perhaps meant to send a message to Hezbollah.
Iran also promising to strike Israel to avenge another assassination, the political head of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, who was killed in Tehran.
And Lindsay, news just in from the Pentagon. The US now sending a squadron of F-18 fighter jets from an American aircraft carrier to an undisclosed airbase here in the Middle East to help defend Israel from a potential Iranian attack. Lindsay?
Tom Sufi-Burridge in Tel Aviv.
Well, according to a Reuters report, Russia is expecting a delivery of hundreds of ballistic missiles as it continues its war in Ukraine. As per sources, Iran is set to deliver hundreds of satellite-guided weapons. Dozens of Russian military personnel are being trained in Iran to use the 360 close-range ballistic missile systems. Reports suggest that the Russian Defense Ministry signed a contract with Iranian officials on the 13th of December in Tehran. This deal included these defense systems as well as another ballistic missile system built by Iran's government-owned aerospace industries organization called Ababul. European intelligence officials have said that Russian personnel have visited Iran to learn how to operate the F-80H-360 defense systems. The close-range ballistic missile system launches missiles with a maximum range of 120 km, a warhead of 150 kg. Moscow possesses its own ballistic missiles as well, but the supply of these systems could allow it to use more of its arsenal for targets beyond the front line. Military experts say Russia could then employ Iranian warheads for closer-range targets as training continues for the Russian military personnel. Sources have also said that the only next possible step after training would be the actual delivery of the missiles to Russia. International response to the deal has already started to flow in. A spokesperson for the U.S. National Security Council has sent out a warning that the United States and its NATO allies are prepared to deliver a swift and severe response if Iran moves forward with such transfers. The U.S. official has also said that this would represent a dramatic escalation in Iran's support for Russia's war against Ukraine. The White House has repeatedly warned of the deepening security partnership between Russia and Iran since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. According to Iranian officials, Iran has sold missiles and drones to Russia but has not provided these particular missile systems. However, there is no legal prohibition on Tehran selling such weapons to Russia. Iranian officials have also said that Iran and Russia often engage in mutual purchase of parts and military equipment, and that the use of such equipment is entirely the other country's decision. As part of the military cooperation, Iranian and Russian officials have often traveled to other nations. Until now, Iran's military support for Moscow has been limited mainly to unmanned Shahed attack drones, but they are easier to shoot down because they are slower than ballistic missiles. Experts say the delivery of large number of short-range ballistic missiles to Russia would now further strain the already overstretched Ukrainian missile defense systems.
After months of being on the back foot, Ukraine is on the offensive, and this time inside Russia. The border town of Sudzha, little more than 300 miles from Moscow, has been at the centre of the fighting. This footage appears to show the aftermath of shelling. And the Ukrainian forces are on the ground too, with what Moscow says was up to 1,000 troops backed by armoured vehicles. Some of those, Russia says, have been destroyed, releasing footage to back up that claim. But after 3 days, the incursion's still ongoing and appears to have caught Moscow by surprise.
We don't know if this is a result of Russian complacency or not. The front lines aren't, if you like, uniformly well defended, but there certainly seems to be something here in terms of an improvement in Ukrainian either deception or camouflage or particularly operational security.
This was how Russian state media reported it, focusing on Ukrainian losses and reports from Russia's health ministry that more than 30 civilians have been wounded. No mention of the impact on its own military. Vladimir Putin didn't seem too concerned, but then again, he was told everything was under control.
The units covering the state border, together with border guards and reinforcement units, airstrikes of missile forces and artillery fire, stopped the enemy's advance deep into the territory of the Kursk region.
But the pictures suggest otherwise. This video, which Sky News has geolocated to inside Russia, appears to show a mass surrender by Russian troops. It's thought Ukraine's trying to strengthen its hand ahead of any negotiations.
The Kremlin has said repeatedly in recent months that it's ready to start peace talks, but very much on its own terms. It insists that Kyiv must abandon any plans to join NATO and cede the 4 territories in Ukraine that Moscow holds part of in their entirety. But that was before this happened.
And should Ukraine continue to hold territory inside Russia, well, that could change any future negotiations quite significantly.
On the streets of Moscow, though, there's no sign of any anxiety.
There is such a thing as a fair fight, but Ukraine would never do that. They're great at biting behind your back.
It's difficult to judge without knowing all the information. But anyway, victory will be ours.
But that's what Russia thought when it started this war. Nearly 2.5 years on, the outcome's still far from certain. Ivor Bennett, Sky News in Moscow.